Okay, I think we can continue. There are no other questions.
Fine. So we can, we can go back to earlier. We can go back to the earlier questions. So once we understand this, once we cover the agenda, then we'll again go back to previous questions if you have any.
Yeah, sure, sure, Vinit. Thank you.
Fine. So how SSL works? So this is very typical question or a typical thing that HTTP is this. There, what is the magic behind it? How it is happening, and what kind of security it is. So this is like now I want to just taking one example. We have okay, we have less time, but I'll take a very simple example. Now, if I want to send some information from Pune to Delhi, how will I send that information? Now I don't have a luxury to go and actually, I can put a lock on that trunk. Let's say I'm sending a data in a trunk, and that trunk is required to be transported back to Delhi, and the Delhi person has to open it, and we need to ensure that nobody's hacking that data. How will we ensure that thing? One thing I can do, I can put a lock and send the trunk to Delhi, and then send the keys separately, but there is a possibility that somebody gets a handle to the keys, will be able to open that trunk and then get to the secrets of it. Then what do I do? Then the other option is Delhi person can send me a lock, which is auto lock. Okay. Auto lock is like you must have seen the small locks. This is not very seven lever and all heavy costly locks, but the small locks comes where you have to just press it and then it will get locked automatically. All of you are aware of it? I
Yeah,
hope yes.
yeah, Vinod. Yeah, we know that.
So Delhi person will send me a lock, which is unlocked position. He will send it. Then in Pune, I will put the things in the trunk and then I'll just lock it. Now, who has the key? Delhi guy, because he has sent me the lock. Even if that lock comes in the hands of someone else, then I don't really care. Is it correct?
Yeah, Vinod.
Right? So this way we are good. We are safe that okay now whatever data is being sent, only my customer or who is asking for that information has a key. So that is a way of securely sending the data. Now here, let's see how SSL works. It works on a similar fashion or similar analogy. So let's say how your client is requesting. Uh, let's say some secure website. We are taking example of a bank site from long time. So let's take example of client is requesting a bank server, access to the bank server. Then it sends internally, it said hello. Okay. So whenever you're saying online.sbi.com or ICICI.com, at that time, from step 1 to 8, all will happen for the first time. Okay. So this is not like each and every request. It's a for a, we are showing this communication or all the sequence for a single request. So when customer is sending, okay, I want to open this website, I want to look at this resources. So that time internally, my browser will send request to a server saying client hello. Server will say okay hello, including the certificate. It will what will have, because say for example we have just installed the operating system and we have installed browser only. So we have installed Chrome browser just now, so we don't have anything on my browser now. So when I'm requesting for the first time, so certificate will be transferred to the client. So what is this certificate? This you can consider this certificate as my lock that we took an example of, where a Delhi guy sent me a lock which is open lock. I can just lock it and send it. So that way you can consider it. So server has sent me one certificate. Server Now server has sent a certificate and client will also send a certificate. Client has a this is a uh, this is actually mutual SSL part only. So let's ignore that part for now. So we are saying that okay, we are saying customer is asking for data. Server has sent a certificate. Now in the second next request, this is all happening internally by the way. So internally, using that certificate, client side browser will generate one random key. Okay. So that's a password like XYZ. That's a asymmetric key. Now that key, using that key, I will encrypt the complete payload. What is the meaning of payload? Here I'm talking about, let's say, username, password, or I'm performing some transaction. In all cases, it's applicable. So whatever we are sending the information, username, password, transaction from, to, all of that information is called as a payload or the HTTP request, actual payload. So that request data has to be encrypted before sending it to the server. So for encrypting, when we say encrypting is what? It is using some algorithms. There are a lot of algorithms are there in the market, EES, RSA, RSAES and all that stuff. So we use some algorithms here, which if you click on a certificate and open that, you will come to know what certificate or what algorithm is used. So what we do is we use that algorithm and send the encrypted key or the SSH symmetric key using that certificate and send it to the server. Okay. I think let me take a pause. Let me take another example where I can explain you this again. Now, customer is asking for a secured resource. So certificate server will send us the certificate. Okay. Here we are talking about, let's say, server is Delhi person, Delhi guy, and client is we are the clients. Okay. And we are saying that, okay, I need so and so information. Okay. Oh, sorry. We are a Delhi guy. Sorry, not sorry. My bad. Yeah. So I think I'm confusing a little bit. Here, let me revise it again. So we are sending our information. We are saying that, okay, now I want to send, I want to get some information which is secure, and for that I need to send the information in an encrypted fashion. Okay. So what server says, okay, take this lock and then give me the data. Put that lock on that data and then send it to me. So I said, okay, fine, I can send the data, but I don't want to send the data and I don't want to put the lock again and again. I want to create my own temporary lock, and that lock key, I'll send it in the using that lock. For example, server has given me an envelope, which is most secured envelope. Okay. And that envelope, we receive that envelope. Within that envelope, I'm putting some secret key, and then putting a lock that server has given me. Okay. And then I'm sending that key to the server. Now server knows for further communication this key will be used. So if you have heard, in army and all this keywords are used, like some keywords like Zindabad, India Zindabad, and all that. So that kind of keyword is there for this communication. For today's communication, for today's mission, this is a keyword. So that way, we establish a trust and say that, okay, this is the keyword you will be used for further communication on the current session within the browser. So whenever we are saying, oh, I log into a site, from login till the logout, the same key is used, which is used for encryption of the data. Because whenever we are saying encryption of a data, algorithms are well known. Everyone knows about the algorithm. So if everyone knows about the algorithm, then how we can protect ourselves? So we have to use our own secret keys. So symmetric keys. Symmetric, there are two ways of, again, encryption, symmetric and asymmetric. Here we're talking about symmetric one, so that when we are sending the data, someone else can use the public certificate to get that data in from that. Am I making any sense? It looks like no.
So I think we got the gist of it, Vinod, but maybe it will help if you run through the deck in terms of step 1, 2, 3. Maybe if there is an additional step, we can just skip it for now.
Okay.
Like maybe step 4 is additional right now in this diagram. Maybe just skip that and walk through the steps. Might be easier to follow.
Fine. So let's say when this is all happening again for the first time when we are trying to log in. and that time we are saying that okay, I want to set up a connection or session with server, and you're just hitting a site onlinesbi.com or icc.com. That time internally browser will send out one HTTP request to the server saying hello, and then server will say hello. Okay, it will also send the certificate in that. Okay, then client sends client uses that certificate to create one ad hoc key and encrypt that key and send it across to the server. For example, now for this communication, I decide alpha is my key. Okay, for next communication I may use Charlie. So for this communication, I'm deciding alpha is my key. So this key will be not be since we are talking, so I'm using a simple key. But when we are generating a key randomly ad hoc, so Chrome browser will create one key which is 256-bit long and all that kind of keys, and that key will be encrypted using the public certificate that server has sent to me. Okay.
Yeah, Vinod, understood.
Okay. So now, since this lock was given by server, now that server will be able to unlock that because that lock is given by certificate. Public certificate was given by public server itself. So whenever we are saying server is sent to a public certificate on the step number 2, that time it has its own private certificate as well. So each and every certificate has got two parts. One is the public part, one is the private part. So you can think of public part as a lock, which is just a lock, and a public certificate as a key. So the public part, private part, private key is private certificate is available with server, and that using that certificate, it can unlock that or get the information from that envelope, whatever you're encrypting using that certificate. So this will be exchanged. So now let's say for this communication, we have said alpha is there, and in step number 5, we are saying that ad hoc key is generated. What is the ad hoc key is generated by Chrome browser? It's alpha. Now that alpha is sent encrypted in such a fashion that it might look like a Charlie, while while it is being sent from a client to server. And then on the server side, okay, it will say, okay, now this is not a Charlie, actually this is alpha, because it knows that what is the algorithm to decrypt that information. So using that decrypted information, it will say, okay, now for further communication, alpha is a key which is used. So this is the end of this messaging. Okay, finished message is sent. Now finished message from both ends is sent. So certificate verification happens only in case of mutual SSL. That is, you can also click on that lock button and see verify that OCSP check is done, where you can say whether certificate is valid or not. You might have observed in some cases browser reports an error saying that certificate is expired, but usually tend to click on that, continue without any worry. So we should not do that. So we need to ensure that certificate is valid. So Chrome browser is doing it from our side for the client side. Okay. So now after that, whatever messages we are sending, for example, I'm sending a user ID password. So that password and user ID password and other information or transaction details will be sent doing the encryption, AES encryption or RSA encryption. So using that using the alpha key. Is this part clear?
Yeah, Vinod.
Okay. Why are we doing this? Why are we not sending a complete payload with encryption, whatever algorithm, whatever locks are sent by customer server? Because the encryption level of encryption that happens using the certificates is very heavy, and it takes there is a performance overhead. That is the reason it doesn't happen all the time. You can see that this is the only 8 messages are shown here. But in fact, if you look at it in reality, it is around 25 to 27 messages happens back and forth in order to SSL connection to be established. So this is just a very high level summary of those steps. Okay.
So, Vinod, it's happen every time, or it just happen at the time of handshake? Like,
it happens only for the first time when SSL handshake happens. As I said, when you're logging into a HTTPS site, so the moment you click on the HTTPS site, that time it happens.
okay. And what if a hacker wants to intercept this HTTP request? So, I mean, it won't be possible because it is covered with SSL.
Yes, when hacker wants to fetch this information, he wants to get handle of it, then what he will do is probably he will look at the key which you are sending it before even doing the encryption. If he is doing the, he's sitting within a browser. If he has got some malware within your mobile, then even before SSL encryption happens, he can have access to all this information. So which is very difficult. But if you are once you are saying that, okay, I have done the SSL encryption and now somebody is hacking it, then it is like very difficult, because if you are keeping sessions very long, so then it is very easy for a customer hacker to hack it. For example, if I have a session, if I log into a bank site which is having a I'm taking an example of bank always because it has a financial impact. So if you are getting into a financial application, then it usually keeps a session time of as low as small as like 2 minutes. So if you don't do any activity for 2 minutes, then session automatically gets killed. Sometimes you'll see even that is even lesser, like 30 seconds and all on mobile apps. So why do they do that? Because if I keep my session longer, for example, if I keep my session for 30 minutes, let's say, and now you have realized that this encryption happens over using a single key for the first time session is established, and after that, whatever communication happens, that communication happens using that single symmetric key,
Got it.
a single encryption key. Sorry, not symmetric key, encryption key, single encryption key. So that encryption key is if that gets exposed, then it is very easy to man-in-middle attacker to intercept all the messages which are going back and forth from server to client. So usually, what supercomputers or very heavy CPU programs are written, which are brute force and kind of things, where which will try to actually take out this actual key from when you are doing the communication for the first time. So if it succeeds in one of the communication, so then it can intercept the complete flow. But it takes a lot of time. So that is the reason they usually keep the session slow. So even you're doing the first time communication, and then it will take all that data, whatever is you're communicating, although it is encrypted, it will try to get that data. It will apply some rules, and it will do perform its algorithm to find out what are the different keys are there. But by the time he does all these things, you might have already ended your session also, because you log into this financial transactions websites and all financial sites where you do a job of just 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes and then you log out. That should be the trend. Otherwise, it is a risky.
Got it.
I have one question, quick question. So,
Yeah.
is it a HTTP call or what kind of call it is? Can we debug this call or look into this calls in a network tab?
You see, this basically whatever information you're sending, all that goes on wire. So you can actually look at all the data which is going back and forth from the client to server. So the only thing is that it is in encrypted format. Okay, if for something like if I ask you to read Chinese language, it is very difficult. Forget about Chinese, but we'll ban China. So we'll the Japanese language. But it is not possible for you to understand Japanese because you don't know Japanese. But if I keep that Japanese language, same language for all my communication, then over the period of time you will be able to learn that and understand, and then intercept all my messages. On the similar line, here also encryption happens. Algorithms are there which are well known, and if we are able to, if we keep the sessions like this, using one session key is there, and that key is used to encrypt the data which is being sent across. The encryption has an algorithm, so I'll understand which algorithm is used. If you click on certificate, then you'll be able to understand what algorithm is used to encrypt the data, what algorithms are used to by that whatever website we are using it. So it is very easy for attackers, not for a common person, a normal person, but for attackers it is quite easy.
Vinod, just one question. So
Yeah.
as we are discussing about the certificate here and there, so what is the life of that certificate, and can we retrieve that information post my session timeout?
Post session timeout, which information is it?
as we are saying, like we are discussing here, like we are communicating through certificate, right? There is
Yeah.
some keys traveling here and there. So
Mhm.
can I see what was the key in my previous session? Just I'm sure like it won't be there, but I just wanted to know. Can you retrieve that information?
Yes, yes, yes. No, not session key. You will not be able to understand what was the session key ever, because that is handled by the Chrome browser internally. So you will not be able to look at that. But Atul, can you open one of the website? Any of the website. You don't have to log in and show your balances, but yeah, SBI, ICICI, some website.
Should I do that if Atul is okay? Atul is doing, I guess.
Okay.
And also, Vinod, what is the role of token? I mean, the JWT or some sort of token we use. So, how these both works together, token and certificate?
Oh, okay. That token is little different. That you're talking about OAuth here. For OAuth, we can have a separate session, but just to give you an idea, here we are talking about having encryption layers, we're having a security around this, and then there's a other leg to it, like authentication and authorization, which we usually do. Authentication and authorization. Atul, you can open one online SBI.com, or you can just keep it open and do F12. So we'll show the communication how it is happening. Can you do F12? Yeah. Network. Yeah. So you're asking about OAuth. Now, so OAuth is nothing but like you're delegating a responsibility of authentication to someone else. So you instead of you authenticating it, you're saying, okay, we use Google login to authenticate this person. So I don't have to do, for example, it's like a KYC. If bank XYZ has done the KYC, I don't have to do KYC. Things like that. So Google knows you. Google has a complete information about you. So I trust that information, and I allow you, let you get into this sites. But this will never happen. OAuth and all, usually it is not allowed, or not you implement it in financial transactions or financial sites in general,
Got it.
because it is like you just bypass or trust some other third party application to allow user to access your site.
Yeah.
So here you can see on the right hand side, Atul has clicked on sbicard.com. On right hand side, you can see a lot of communication happens in background. Atul, you can scroll that thing. PNG and ICO files you can ignore, but rest of things it happens. Communication happens. And if he's hitting for the first time, it will happen. A lot of communication will happen back and forth.
So you're saying
You can
that would
open-
be a
yeah.
XHR request,
Okay.
Vinod?
Huh?
That would be a XHR request.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What is it?
That would be a XHR request or HTTP request. So maybe Atul can filter out instead of all, he can choose just XHR.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Vinod's screen is.
Sorry, my screen is coming now.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Vinod. I thought your screen froze. Go ahead.
Okay. Fine. So basically, you can in your leisure time you can go through that. So go to network tab. We'll go to cookies also. In cookies, you will say JSession ID. If it is using Java, then there would be a JSession ID, and some other keys, some other session ID. See, Atul has clicked on it. So here we can see session ID is there, which is a long session ID. So this session ID is for the session tracking from a server to client. Now, if this same session ID, same information used by some other attacker, then he will be he'll pretend himself as if he is the same person that Atul is logged in. So now Atul is not logged in. After login, this session ID will change actually. After login, that session ID, whatever is given. So if somebody is using that session ID, say same cookie in the URL or cookies, then that person can impersonate or pretend as if he is Atul, and will be able to log in and get the information.
Okay.
And the mutual SSL, two-way SSL is just I think earlier slide was also by mistake I put it of the same thing, but it's a two-way certificates where we have two pair of public certificate and private certificates. So whenever we are talking about encryption, it is public certificate and private certificate. So public certificate, using public certificate, whatever encryption, whatever data is encrypted can be decrypted only by using the private certificate. Okay. So now this is a client. Usually this is not a normal client. Usually it happens between two different organizations or companies. So for example, MasterCard wants to communicate with some bank. So in that case, with ICICI Bank, let's say, or Apple. So that time we will say that okay, let's exchange certificate. So we will give MasterCard will give his public certificate to ICICI Bank, and ICICI will give or ICICI or whatever. So ICICI will give it their public certificate to MasterCard. So using those public certificates, we will encrypt the data and send it across. And on the receiving end, they will use their public certificate. We will use our public certificate to decrypt it. So remember, public certificates are only to encrypt the data, and private certificates are mainly to decrypt the data. And you can see one more box here on the top. I know we are running out of time. On the top, you can see Trustor is there, which says whenever we are talking about two different organizations, so we need to have someone who will say that okay, this certificate is valid. For example, when you put certificates, I have done so and so certification from I've done TOGAF certification. Then you have to provide the link where I can validate that okay, whether you are really certified or not. So who will certify that? Whoever has issued that certificate. So similarly, this we can have a verification mechanism where we say certification authority, C authority, will be able to say that okay, this certificate is valid or not valid. So that kind of verification usually we do, but that is not that doesn't happen for each and every request because that is very costly thing to happen every time. So usually it is cached for a couple of hours, let's say 12 hours or 40 or 24 hours like that.
Is it done internally by the browser itself, or we all have to do this?
This is done when we are talking about two-way certificates, or we have to import those certificates. For example, if I'm doing it from browser, as you said, answer to that question is yes, it is done using browser or a server. For example, when I'm doing from a browser, so on browser side, I will have to have my private certificate also, so that whatever data is being sent from server, I can decrypt it. But when I'm sending the data from my browser to server, which is like a MasterCard server, so MasterCard will actually say, okay, he is using so and so certificate and sending me this data. So on the F5, that is the load balancer is there, or internet IDC we call it as internet cloud termination point. So that point we will say we will verify the certificates, whether certificate is valid or not valid, and then we will open a new network connection session, and then we'll send data to the internal network. So it depends on what applications are we using. If we are using a server, so if outbound communication, whatever we do, we usually use a API gateway or XML gateways to do the outside communication. So at that side, we will do the send the certificates, and we will verify the certificate of the third party. Similarly, receiving end, if you have an F5, then F5 will do this. Okay, but if you are using, for example, Postman to send a API request, for APIs also we have this two-way SSL. So Postman will never do the OCSP check, this certificate validity check. Atul, last thing, can you open that? I just want to show the certificate. Can you open that link?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah. Just click on that lock and we'll show the certificate. Yes. Certificate. On certificate, now here you see who has issued certificate to whom. So it says that, okay, DigiCert has issued this certificate, DigiCert SHA-2. They have created internally multiple certificate authorities. If you look at the certification path on the right, top right, third tab, Atul, certification path. Yeah. So here you can see it's actually DigiCert is the authority, C authority who has issued it. Click on that digital cert, top one. Yeah. This is a company, they are DigiCert, who has issued it and to whom it is issued. So it says DigiCert Global Root CA is issued certificate to DigiCert Global Root CA. And within that, you can see a different level of certificates are there, which are issued. And then DigiCert SHA2 is issuing certificates to next slack.com, so and so forth. And now close this one. Go back to the general information. Yeah, here you can click on the issuer statement. So here, if you look at this, and here you will get a lot of information about certificate validity and other stuff. But in general, we have different servers, we have different URLs using which we validate do the OCSP check of the certificate validity check. Is it clear?
I'm connected from my phone, so it might take some time. So.
Yeah, that's fine. So now you got the idea, but you have to just click on that link and then see what kind of certificate algorithm is used and all. It gives the complete information. If you click on details one, we missed the middle tab. Yeah. So here, just click on one of the field and then scroll one by one. It says which algorithm are we using, what kind of signature are we using, what is the certificate validity, and there is nothing like certificate validity could be a small, 3 months, 4 months, or it could be years also, multiple years also. In this case, I think it is valid from 2018 to 2021, so which is like 3 years. In general, if you look at Google certificates, would be like, because these are public certificates, these are certificates like 5 years, 6 years validity certificates. But when we are talking about mutual SSL, when two organizations are talking to each other, that time financial impacts are very huge. So one transaction goes there could be 1 million financial loss also in just one transaction. So that is the reason people don't usually trust or keep a certificate for longer validity. It is rotated every 6 to 12 months. Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, I think we understand now SSL better, Vinod. Yeah, so I think from my side, I'm really good. Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think we need one more session on OAuth and token maybe to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. OAuth, I think OAuth will be more technical in nature because there would be a lot of terms where we are talking about hashing and encryption and other stuff. So we will require people who are having technical background only. So let us put that disclaimer, and then we can go for OAuth as well. OAuth again, within OAuth we have multiple versions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Within this also encryption, we have one more layer. Now nobody asked like how to protect again if SSL is open. Is there any one more level of security that we can apply? So yes, we can apply. We can do message level encryption also. I'd asked Atul to open SBI site. If you enter SBI site some data, and then the moment you press enter, some encryption happens on the client side itself first, before even it goes for the encryption. So
by looking to our network panel, we will be only seeing encrypted data over there instead of normal data, right? Network panel payload.
Yes, you'll see all encrypted data.
Okay.
It is a very interesting field.
Yeah, actually,
If you
it is.
understand this well, this is just a beginning, just a small thing. But there are a lot of things, a lot of potentials are there to understand more and protect our websites or as well as ourselves.
Yeah, but we know that there is a lot of protection, there are a lot of certificates, etc. Still, how people manage to hack application like Twitter and etc. I mean, they are highly protected, right? They must be having all the certificate and session ID and etc. I mean, like,
Yes, said that there are always vulnerabilities are there. You have worked with big organizations. I have worked with very big organizations, and when we work on software, we realize okay, what kind of vulnerabilities are open. So you can't trust anyone because even if you know that okay, this is there. For example, I was talking about DDoS attack. So DDoS attack, it is very simple, just a configuration within Akamai server. You have to just go and do a check mark, tick mark. So, but people don't do that also. Simple things.
got it, got it. So there is always scope of a human error or some sort of gap which
Yes,
actually hacker
yes,
would identify and then penetrate.
right, right, right.
Okay, okay, got it.
If you have account with cooperative banks, some cooperative banks, no offense to cooperative banks, but that accounts can be hacked very easily. I have one friend in Valency Networks. You can see on LinkedIn. So he visited one of the cooperative bank and he said, we are, say we can take care of your VA, vulnerability assessment and all, and we'll help you protect your websites. He said, our website is very protected. Then he
Okay,
said, give me 5 minutes. Then within 5 minutes, he changed the logo. He said, no, this is very simple. You can't get access to our data. It is very secret. You can't get access to our data, which is very protected. So he said, give me 30 minutes. So he took more time. He took 15 minutes. But within 50 minutes, he was able to log in and get access to the transactions.
God, okay.
So this Twitter and all, if they can do mistakes and they can have vulnerabilities, and small organizations, financial organizations are more prone to this kind of problems.
Got it. Yeah. If anybody has any questions, please do ask or maybe unmute yourself and ask. I think I want Ganesh to ask some question. He's really afraid of doing online transaction. He never use any. Ganesh, I hope you're there.
I think I want to be most protected by not doing any transactions online. That's the best way to protect yourself.
No, that is
I
there
mean,
is a way. Yeah, there is a way to do that. If you, this is not a technical trick. This is just a flying intelligence. You keep your account, one account where you have very less amount, let's say 5,000 maximum, and keep do all the internet banking linking with that account only.
that's what I do. Thanks, Vinod. I actually do that.
Good. You're already secured then. You're already
Yeah,
protected.
yeah. Hey guys, if anybody else has any questions, please put it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. Vinod, are you done from the presentation slides from your
Yes,
side?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Over to
Right.
Atul then. I think Atul can take further. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Vinod. So I have shared some feedback link in the chat window. Please, we have really called it the feedback links, feedback questions. I think there are only 2 or 3 remaining in there. So if you can take the time and answer that, that'd be great. Similarly, I've also shared some of the social media URLs. To subscribe to whichever one that you want. We have some more topics coming up next Saturday. They are and for the next month itself. Most of it is going to be non-technical for now. We are going to have a session on yoga and then on physical fitness, and then we have a published author. She will be taking sessions on the macro economy and also maybe on personal finance. So we will publish that link. We updated as much as possible. So please try and follow us there. And the video recording of this session would be on YouTube. like Om said, the website is available. I know some of you might be, if you are interested to work as mentors and take sessions and contribute some time, please head over to the website, register yourself as mentors. And similarly, if you have, if you feel somebody on the website.
Atul, you're not audible.
Yeah, so I'll add there. So what Atul was saying that I shared the link, so please check that out. And if you guys are interested to conduct session like Vinod did, please reach out to us. Also, you guys can register us as a mentor, and you can donate 1 or 2 hour per week, wherein we will kind of promote your sessions wherein people can schedule one-on-one, and there you can share your knowledge and expertise with others. So yeah, and that's all. And I would say thank you for joining. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you for taking time out and sharing your expertise with us. It was really helpful. And we are expecting you to conduct one more session on OAuth and token related stuff. And yeah, thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Thank you.